In the past couple months, you might have seen this guy on your feed, Rory Sutherland. You might have seen him on YouTube Shorts talking about why being irrational will make you more money.
One of the dangers of being rational is that you tend to end up in the same place as all your competitors.
You also might have seen him in a TED Talk cracking some random jokes on stage.
If you stand and stare out of the window on your own, you're an antisocial, friendless idiot. If you stand and stare out of the window on your own with a cigarette, you're a philosopher.
Or you might have seen him as a guest on a podcast, interrupting the host every time he gets the chance. Well anyways, his recent rise to fame is not just perception. If we check Google Trends, we can see that he basically had no searches until August of 2024. And then he started blowing up in September, October, and November, leading to today where we see him all over YouTube Shorts. We can also confirm this with vidIQ, showing that he has 225,000 monthly searches on YouTube. But even though Sutherland only recently blew up on social media, he is far from new in the marketing space. I mean, not to brag, but I actually found Rory Sutherland a long time before he blew up. I read his book Alchemy in January of 2024, and I even made a video about him 11 months ago. So for me, seeing his rise was really cool, not only because I think he's a really interesting character and I was familiar with his ideas really early on, but because I actually think his ideas were almost inevitable to spread. And I think it all has to do with the old school way that entrepreneurship was taught and how Rory Sutherland brought a new perspective to the table that actually aligns better with the way that the world is changing. Rory Sutherland just called it out the loudest. So even though he had said these ideas 5 years ago, they didn't make sense until now. To fully understand what I mean, we have to look at the old school way of teaching entrepreneurship. Now, to be clear, this is just my understanding of it, but I've taken a good amount of entrepreneurship classes at Cornell, and this is pretty much the main framework that I've seen time and time again, which is that if you want to pursue entrepreneurship, you have to look for a problem in society and figure out a way to solve it. I mean, even some of the biggest business educators online right now take this as the method to create money through entrepreneurship.
The only difference between these guys is the problem they're solving is bigger, not smaller. It's a bigger problem they're solving. And the bigger the problem you solve, the more money the market will pay you.
Like Patrick Bet-David, who explains that the difference between really big companies and small companies is the size of the problem that they're solving. And I have no problem with this as a framework. I think it's one of the best, most tried and true method to make money through entrepreneurship. But it's definitely not the only way. And this is what Rory Sutherland brings to the table that other business influencers are not talking about. He acknowledges that the problem solution framework can work.
There are two ways you can create new economic value. You can either find out what people want and work out a clever way of delivering it to them.
So there, he acknowledges it. You can look at what people want or look at like a problem that they're facing and find a clever way to solve it. That's the normal entrepreneurship framework, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that that's not the only way to make money, and Rory Sutherland actually addresses the other way to make money. He talks about the other side of the coin when he says,
or you can work out what you can deliver and find a clever way of making people want it. And the economic value created by those two things, although they may be opposite sides of the same coin, the economic value is just as great either way.
Now this is why Rory Sutherland went viral, because he was the loudest person to actually uncover a whole different way of making money that the standard entrepreneurship process never even talks about. And no wonder he thinks this way, because he at heart is a marketer. He's not involved in building the products himself. He's only involved in being given a product and being told, find a way to get people to buy this product. That's what he has to do as a marketer. So his whole thing is creating economic value in the second way, something that was never taught in entrepreneurship. Now, I think the reason that he started blowing up recently rather than like 5 years ago, even though he was saying the same ideas, is because the way that culture and society is shifting. Today, there are more and more businesses that are starting every single day that create economic value, not by looking at what people want and finding a way to make it, but by making something and finding a really clever way to make people want it. Like, for example, take every luxury brand. No one would have known in advance that this is what people desperately wanted until through good marketing, these luxury brands were able to get people to buy at those ridiculous prices. Or think of trends that happen, like the Stanley Cup, that pretty much all came from not necessarily having a better product, but actually by just using social media really well to create a trend and get people to start wanting the Stanley Cup when they never even knew they needed it in the first place. Or even social media to begin with. I mean, no one would have known in advance that Instagram Instagram is something that people wanted, they built Instagram first, and then through people's actual usage of it and the marketing that Instagram did, it became a normal part of society and now is one of the biggest companies. But this probably isn't something that you would be able to pre-rationalize with the problem solution framework. So a lot of young people are seeing these new types of businesses and are saying, wait, guys, isn't this whole problem solution thing, like, it works, but this isn't the only way that we can make money. We can also do it in this completely other way. And this is what Rory Sutherland has been talking about, and in my opinion, why his rise to fame was kind of inevitable in this current place that we're in society, with all this new tech and everything that's coming out right now. And I believe that that's the core of Sutherland's message, is that you don't actually have to logically change the value of something for people to perceive it as more value. You can actually do all of that psychologically. And I'll leave you with one of my favorite examples of his that actually proves this. There was once a building with a really slow elevator, and people were leaving tons of complaints on how slow the elevator was and how it's taking so much time out of their day, blah, blah, blah. So the landlord says, okay, we're getting too many bad reviews. I have to do something about it. What should I do? He reaches out to a businessman, and the man tells him, well, I know this engineering firm that we could hire. It'll be $1 million. We can install new cables and we can speed up the elevators so no one will complain anymore. And so the landlord goes, okay, that sounds decent. So he goes and asks someone else. He asks a marketer, I'm dealing with these really slow elevators. People are complaining. What do you think I should do? And the marketer says, install mirrors in the elevators. People will be so busy being self-conscious and looking at themselves that they'll forget that the elevator took any time at all. So that's what the landlord did. He installed the mirrors. It cost him $500 instead of $1 million, and there were no complaints about the elevator speed ever again. Sometimes logic is an important way of solving problems, but other times psychology can be a much more potent and way cheaper way of solving the exact same problem. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video. And Rory Sutherland, if you're watching this, feel free to offer me a paid internship at Ogilvy. That would be very nice. I'll catch you all in the next video, and peace.